Hey, this is Patrick Durkin from the Wellness Enterprise, and I am here with my friend, Paul Kervick. Paul has been around the Wellness Enterprise for 5-6 years now, and he's been a big fan about structured water. He was already enthusiastic about it when we met, and he's taught me things about it, and he's just such a wonderful, warm-hearted man, and one of my inspirations. I mean, when you have white hair like that and energy and inspiration the way Paul has, it's just, you got to talk to more people and you got to be seen in the world. You're an exquisite human being, Paul, and I consider it a privilege to know you. So Paul contacted me recently and he taught me about something called Nanosoma. And it was a really weird conversation. Like, Paul shared for maybe 1 minute and then he wanted to keep sharing. And I was like, no, Paul, stop. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, just tell me how to order. Like, I just knew I wanted to order it. So I did. And my first 3 bottles came in and I literally opened the box up at the UPS store and sprayed it in my mouth for the first time. And I went home and I ordered 60 more bottles because I wanted friends to have access to it. And then I started ordering by the 1,000. So it was just like instant recognition that this Nanosoma is something special for this time, this era that we're in. So I'm learning more about it. I'm starting to hear people's feedback on it, but I wanted to circle back with Paul and make a video for all of you so that Paul could answer 3 questions for us. So Paul, welcome. And the first question I have for you, my friend, is what is Nanosoma?
Well, I've come up with a personal way to kind of view it. I think of it as kind of like the God particle. And I'm thinking about this, and you know a little bit, but let me give you a little bit of backstory here about water, because water is the key to our life. It's the key to our bodies. 99.97% we're water. In a cellular level, we're about 70% water. In my years of working with elders and a different approach to elder care, our bodies start decreasing in water over time. So from instead of 70%, say as an average, as you get older, it goes down, your thirst mechanism changes. So water for me started as a young boy, where in dealing with stress in life and the challenges, I lived in Rhode Island, which was near the ocean. And so I spent most of all my time in, on, or next to the ocean. And it's been informing my life and my journey throughout my life. And learning to go with the flow, learning that the waters are so, so important. And that allowed me to connect with Mother Nature and an awareness that nature is divine, it's wise, beyond anything our Western paradigm and science can control through our duality thinking of separation, control, and fear. It is cooperative. It will bring anything that we need that's out of balance to balance. I was told by a shaman once that if you move somewhere, within 7 years, everything that you need to survive and be healthy, all those bacteria, the viruses, the microbes, they will be there. And the food you eat is going to be healthier. So a lot of my path has been looking at this flow in this water. And I'm also aware that this time we're in, a year and a half ago, when this whole COVID adventure began to hit all of us, okay? I first heard about this Nanosoma. And I said, I wonder if nature is bringing an opportunity, because it will always bring balance and wholeness into our lives. There's something significant about that. And so I started to just read a little bit, watched a couple of videos, and I realized that when I learned from Dr. Raghavan, who's the amazing scientist who's developed this, he's originally from India, and he was noticing when he was traveling back and researching, he was researching these lipid particles, the basic building blocks of cells. And he noticed that a lot of the ancient grains and ancient sugar cane had these lipids, this polycosanol, I can never remember the name, in them. But because of what we've done to the planet in disturbing Mother Nature and the chemical farming and the polluting our waters, that they're just not bioavailable. And so he started researching ancient texts like the Rig Veda, 5,000, 10,000-year-old texts. He went back to India to visit family. And he visited a sugarcane factory. And when I was in India, I had some of this raw sugar, and it looks dark brown, kind of like here in the West here, we think of brown sugar. It's like that kind of color. But it's what most of in India, they still have this caste system. What most of the lower caste people, that's what they eat for sugar. And when he was in the sugarcane factory, he noticed that all the workers out in the production floor, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they're all pretty healthy, no major deals. When he went and visited with all the management company, they were only eating the Western refined white sugar. And they had heart attacks, and they had diabetes, and they had Parkinson's disease, and all these health issues. And he started saying, what is this? So he really dug in, and he's a research scientist. He's an amazing, amazing guy. And I've heard him speak. He tells the story about, he started experimenting on himself with this theory that he had and developed this product for 10 years, I think he said. And he would notice, he's my age, he's like in his 70s, and he likes to play badminton, like a lot of the Indian men, and women probably too, but the men, when I was there, they all loved that game, badminton. And he'd be out with these 30, 40, 50-year-olds, and they'd be playing. And after a couple of hours, they'd have to stop and get a drink. And he'd say, well, come on, let's keep going. He'll go 6 hours. And when he started researching his cellular development through electron microscopes, all the things that the scientists know how to do, he looked at his telomeres. And his cell biology was that of a 50-year-old. And his telomeres were actually getting longer. And as we age, the aging processes, those telomeres begin to shrink. So he said, this is profound. I have to bring this to the world. And he found in these ancient texts. So he described it, and I may not be paraphrasing exactly his words, but what I took from listening was he feels that this nanoparticle, polyglycosol, when immersed, and this is what got me. This is what got me, because my whole life has been about water. And as I've learned through Patrick and others about structured living water, and what that truly is, it's ancient. 15,000 years ago, when the Nazis were in Antarctica, they found these ancient tablets, the Elatum, and they didn't know what it meant, and they had Tibetan monks translate it. Basically, water is creation. It's throughout the universe, all universes, star water, ice. And that's what we're of. So Dr. Raghavan understood about this, and he went around the planet looking for natural structured water springs. And I don't know why he decided, but he found one in Switzerland, and that's where he set up his manufacturing plant. I don't know if he has more than one now, but I know that's what he said in the story, where he started. And he knew that to make this bioavailable particle, to have it in a structured living water was absolutely essential. And there's a couple other ingredients that are in there. And I don't remember now exactly what they are, but they're a fat, I think, something, mostly so biology, you can absorb it and digest it. And he said what he's come to know within him is that this particle, if you think back to all of you, if you could even remember when you came into your physical body as a divine source creator being, that original blueprint from source of your DNA, which informs all the rest of you, the avatar that's become your body, mind, emotion, spirit, and then we add beliefs and structures and all the stuff that keeps us in trauma, all of that. I'm going back to the original blueprint of perfection. When a baby is born, they're one with creation, and then it begins to separate because we're in this dimension. So he understood that this particle was like a spark of divinity. And what he's been able to do through developing this product in the living structured water is you spray it in your mouth, or you could spray it on your skin. I mean, I've read a lot of different things about different ways you can use it. And we're just beginning to use this a few months now, but we're noticing some things I can talk about later. But what he says, his understanding is that this spark, when you take this, I think 60,000 nanoparticles in a spray or 5 sprays in your mouth once a day. And you can start slow and then work your way up. But it's like a spark to your DNA. And I kind of calling it like the God particle, because I think it's your DNA then remembers its original blueprint. And your own DNA, and why I'm so excited about this product, I deal with things in my life, in my research in 45 years and being in holistic health, that are preventive that give the body what it needs to heal itself. And so my understanding is that when this communicates with your own DNA will begin prioritizing, and anything that's out of alignment with the perfection of your being will begin to start coming into balance, homeostasis, and vitality. And I believe that because all of humanity right now is going through, as Rudolf Steiner said, hundreds of years ago, he talked about this time, which is going to be the ultimate time in humanity's evolution of separation, fear, and control. And think about this virus. What has that precipitated, catalyzed? But that very reality. And here we have Mother Nature perhaps gifting us with this memory device to reawaken our DNA that can help our bodies to heal and cleanse. I mean, I even have heard, people say, and again, these are not Dr. Presser, who's not a medical doctor, they're making no medical claims here. But what they believe is that this can counteract anything that we've done to ourselves. And they've done, I think I heard 10 years of clinical trials with all the major illnesses like cancer, arthritis, mental health issues with people. And basically the body is reconstructing, it's healing itself. And it affects mind, body, emotion, spirit, all of it. And it's so new that, I know you can go to their website, and Patrick, you probably on yours will have a link to thousands of testimonials. People are having amazing experiences with this product. So to describe it in, a couple of minutes, I'm not probably doing it justice, but I hope you feel the energy of what I'm feeling. And it just feels important. It feels like it is a gift from Mother Nature, and she's working with a conscious human being who's trained in Western science and has done the research, and he's making this available to all of us. And it ties in so beautifully with the perfect structured water devices that Wellness Enterprises, and that's who I work with in terms of my work in helping elders and helping the soil. I feel it's just such a natural match. I mean, imagine that we can enhance that. So if every one of your, excuse me, Patrick, if every one of your listeners here today had this wellness structured water device that they could do portably or under their sink or in their home, like my wife and I do. So our showers, 90% of your organ is skin, so we were bringing in stuff to our bodies all the time. If you're drinking the structured water and you're adding this Nanosoma, I mean, oh my goodness. To me, those are two essential things for health and well-being at this time we're all having to go through. It's like a great birth. So I need to be quiet. Ask me another question or respond.
No, that was perfect. So, getting at what is Nanosoma, sometimes with, nutritional supplements and those type of things, I think the first place we look is to our bodies. Mm-hmm. And in this case, the feedback that I'm getting early on is people just have a sense of feeling right with it.
Yes.
And, when I built this structured water business, I did something kind of interesting. Like I was trying to sell filters for like 2 years before I found structured water. Mm-hmm. And when structured water really found me, and I pushed it away and said, I don't want anything to do with a business that solves a problem 100% for people and there's no recurring revenue because I won't be able to support myself. Mm-hmm. And then I reflected more and I was like, well, I've been blessed. Like, this isn't about me. Mm-hmm. This is about getting solutions to people. And it changed my whole way of thinking. I went from being like a competitive capitalist to how do I help solve problems for life? But when I started with the structured water, I didn't say anything to people about how I experienced it. Mm-hmm. I waited until my customers told me how they experienced it. And then I told other people those stories. And then the people would tell me more stories back. And I became a hub for the stories.
Lovely.
And that really worked for me. Like it gave me a right feeling. Like, I think that's where I started to birth sacred commerce. Mm-hmm. It's like, we all have to win together. So this Nanosoma, I'm early in my inquiry, but the wave of orders that we've had in our exploration has been like just jaw dropping. And that shocked me, because I've always, like, we didn't name our company the Little Water Company or the Aqua this or something else. We named it the Wellness Enterprise. And I've always wondered, like, when is the plan going to shift from offering these different types of structured water to something else? And so I've been weighing a lot of things for a long time, and no, 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 no. And then finally, Nanosoma was the one. And we just started selling it 5 days ago. And I bought enough that I thought we would have like 3 months worth. We've sold 60% of it in 5 days.
Wow.
So it's like a slap. It's like, catch my attention, really grab my attention and ground me. So I think, there are those of us who just listen to the traditional media and we take that as truth. And then there are those of us who say, well, truth comes from within, and I'm going to seek my experience. And I think the Wellness Enterprise probably gathers a lot of the people in the second group. And that group is saying, this is really special. So there's a recognition out there, and I'm paying attention to it. I'm following the trail. That's why we're here. Yeah. So we got some of, what it is from your perspective, and thank you so much for that. And by saying what it is, I think you kind of started to really answer my second question. But do you have anything more you'd like to amplify on? Why would people benefit from paying attention to Nanosoma?
Yeah, and I'd like to back up because you made some really good points just there. And I wanted to speak to that because it was something I had wanted to get to. A lot of my life, as I mentioned, is about investigating prevention. Okay, so, blood flow and oxygen flow, water, because we're water beings, and our gut, 80% of our immune system is the community there. So this is what Mother Nature is genius at. And so what can we give our bodies so our bodies can heal themselves? And what I've run into in the last 15 years when we started this nonprofit elder care approach, a holistic approach to elder care. And I had one example when we had one of our elders who would not drink. She was very dehydrated, and she had dementia and Alzheimer's and wasn't that capable. And I said to one of the nurses one day, I said, can you just, take just a teaspoon of this structured water and just let her taste that, see if she'll. And she did, and she kind of smiled, and she wanted some more. So we poured a little glass. And I'll tell you, between that and working with her gut health, we had a situation where we got a call one day from her daughter who lived in Connecticut. She was in tears. We said, what are you doing to my mom? To our administrator. And she said, well, nothing. Is there anything wrong? She says, no. She says, but I actually got a phone call from my mom. We haven't had a lucid conversation in 3 years. So, but what I found was that, and I do demos at the health food store for our probiotics, and I go there and I see people with their shopping carts coming through with hundreds of supplements. And we get having a conversation, and I ask, how come you're doing that? I said, well, I saw an ad on TV, or my neighbor said this is really good for this condition. And I said, well, do you have the condition? She said, no, but I don't know. And so it was occurring to me that, we've become so addicted to this Western illness approach of a pill for every ill, that's translated now into supplements. And like you were talking about, conscious heart-based business. Money isn't a bad thing. It's an energy exchange. But I've seen these supplement companies, and it's like, wow. And people just don't have a clue. And I said, have you ever had a blood test or have your hair analyzed to see because your body, your cells are dying and regenerating every second. You're a total new physical being today and 7 years from now, except for your teeth. So, if you give your body the wisdom of your body, what it needs to heal, I think 90% of all our health issues could be totally eliminated if we got off a lot of the other stuff that is treating symptoms. It's not health, it's illness care. And so water and your gut health. And now I feel Nanosoma. When it came to me and I dowsed, like you, Patrick, I wasn't necessarily looking for another product. I'm overwhelmed just with doing the things I'm doing in my life right now. But something about that spoke to me. And I ordered a bottle right away. I didn't know anything really about it other than I started doing some research and watching videos. But I feel they may sell it as like a supplement, but I feel like something totally different. I feel it's like our structured water. And of course, most of it is structured water. So I just wanted to add that little piece in there as well.
That's great. Anything else on the why people should pay attention to Nanosoma?
Well, to me, again, when I look at what's happening in the planet, I'm looking at the fear, I'm looking at health issues that people are having, people who've decided to take the jab and people who haven't. It's separating. And the Nanosoma for me is something that is bringing wholeness. It's bringing the connection to source. So anything we can do, whether it's walking in nature, you can do, as Gina Bria, who we know well from the Hydration Foundation, eating foods that hydrate. Anything you can do to reconnect to your wholeness and to nature is going to be profound. And I think Nanosoma is exactly that kind of vehicle for people. So it'll help deal with all the other 3D reality, if you will, that's kind of crazy and it's not real pleasant to be around. And so anything you can do to help your body, mind, emotion, and spirit be in a more heartful, centered place that's whole and healing and deal with ever health issues you might have, this is a tool. And your body will love you for it. It's what my experience is.
That's beautiful. So speaking of your experiences, share with us a little bit what you and Winsong have experienced, or people you've shared this with. Like, what's happening in people's lives with Nanosoma?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I mentioned, I'm 74 and Winsong's 84. And she, about 20 years ago, had 2 strokes and couldn't talk, couldn't walk, couldn't move. We were going through a major life lesson experience around losing our home and a lot of other things, a lot of stress, a lot of tension. We didn't have medical insurance. And, but we had friends like, Patrick and other people that I had a heart connection with who were dealing with some technologies and healing modalities that weren't necessarily approved by our Western medicine system. And it took about 1.5 years, but she came back 100%. 100%. And about 3 years ago, we like to walk. And so we were walking back one day and she was a little short of breath and was talking, it was bringing up some fear in me about when she had her strokes. Something isn't right. And our housemate at the time was a retired orthopedic surgeon and doctor. And he was on our board for our nonprofit. And he happened to be home. I said, hey, could you come up and check out Winsong? And he said, I know you guys. He said, I hate to tell you this, but this is classic congestive heart failure. You might need to go to the emergency room and find out what's going on. So we did. And they did the catheterization, and cardiologist who was there, like spirit guided, happened to be the same one we saw 15 years before, who happened to be on that night. And he said, she's got the veins of a 20-year-old. We don't know. Well, we figured out what it was. It was the combination of the frequency of the earth, the magnetic field decreasing, and activity from our sun. And what we found out, because she was adopted as an infant, we had no health history with her, that she had an irregular heartbeat, which has nothing really to do about it. But that electrical, because we're bioelectric beings, we're water and electric, okay? It triggered this heart adventure. So long story short, I ended up finding about this technology from Europe that was increasing blood flow and oxygen, and 8 minutes twice a day. And we did this. And lo and behold, we go back in 3 months for echocardiogram and follow up. And the guy just shook his head. He said, this is amazing. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, we're drinking structured water. We're eating well. We're doing yoga. We're just doing what we can do and using this technology. And I said, as a Western trained top cardiologist in Vermont, what do you look at when there's a heart issue? He said, well, we look at the heart, which is it's not a pump. It has some pumping function, but that's vortex. It's a muscle and it has some pumping function, and your veins and arteries. And the research I did, I said, that's 24.5% of her circulation. He said, that's right, good for you. I said, well, this technology we're using, I can increase all 75,000 miles of her microcirculation, oxygen and water, increase it by 30% in just 8 minutes twice a day. And 90% of the people don't feel anything. But again, for me, it's like this quantum signal. When it comes into your body in a very weak magnetic field, just like you get from walking in nature, your body responds like it's Beethoven's Ninth. It's your own body, microcirculation, that responds to this and brings those healing energies of blood flow and oxygen. And of course, it's activating our water and our cells. And she actually, even though if normal heart function is 50 to 70, she was 28 on the right side, which is where she had what we call her heart adventure. She was back at 49, right at the normal but low heart function in 2 months. This guy was blown away.
Wow. And
so the Nanosoma, the why, the experience we've had since we've been doing this, is her energy is going up even more. I mean, she's out in the garden 8 hours a day. She says, I feel sparkly. And I'm didn't have any major health issues, but I had every summer here in Vermont, we get a lot of pollen and allergies, and I'm out mowing the lawn for 8 hours and all congested. It's 90% gone. And I stopped doing antihistamines. I still do my vitamin C. I do take a couple of supplements, but I have my hair analyzed or blood test because your body's changing all the time. Sometimes supplements, like in Vermont, we don't get a whole lot of sun here. So D3 is really important for us. But I also have heard, and again, I have no scientific proof, that with this Nanosoma, what they're expecting is that your body, your cells will be creating the perfect vitamin C, the balances naturally, which is much more powerful than a supplement, okay, that's manufactured. And so I'm really curious to see, because I also work with a medical intuitive, of what's going to happen like 6 months from now or so, when I go and see, do we still need to be taking some of these supplements, to see how that may be actually changing the chemistry in our bodies. Just like, and Patrick, you could speak to this, about people say, well, what about the chemistry in the water if you've got polluted water? Well, when you start changing the frequency and the energy of the physics of that, it's like all life is energy. Nature understands this. So we're just reintroducing another team member for our health and well-being. So that's our experience.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think it's going to be really valuable for people that we put this out there. And I just so appreciate you for introducing me to Nanosoma and for coming on today to talk to us about it.
And thank for you for flowing into my life with Structured Water. And I love this. Any way I can help you or your friends, your staff, your viewers, I'm here to try to do the best I can with that. Thank you.
Great. Well, we appreciate you. Bye for now.
Bye for now.